For those who don't know me, I'm Chief, and I started the Vulcan Riders Association in England back in 1999. They approached me and asked me if I would start the UK chapter of the Vulcan Riders Association because I was asking questions about the bike that I just bought. So from March 99, I started working actively to get the club going, built the website, started the publications of newsletters, and hired my first pitch at the Southwest Custom Classic. I had a little stall selling tyre pressure valves and doing tarot readings because we had to pay for the pitch. The night before we went there, I had a phone call from a guy called Gary Orris from Southend asking if he'd join the club. He came along and he joined the club, and he actually got membership number 3 because somebody beat him to it. He brought a friend of his along who also joined, became number 4, but he never came back. We never saw him again. So in the first year we recruited quite a few people, but we lost a lot of people too. By the second year we got more organised. So basically with the names you've heard, Gary Orris, Sonny Bob, Bruce Martin, Big Ant, John and Mandy Talbot, that's it that have retained for the first year.
Now listen, we're stepping out. I'm gonna turn around. Gonna turn around once, I'm gonna do the eagle run.
I joined the VRA in '99. I had a 800 Classic that was fully dressed, loads of parts on it. I showed it at the Shepton Mallet Bath and West Bike Show, and while I was there I was wandering up and down the trader stand and come across this tent with a tarot reader outside of it, and by the side was a 1500 Vulcan and a notice on the top saying, "Have you got one of these? Do you want to join the club?" So I went up to the tent and asked the girl who was doing the tarot reading about the notice. A great big hairy bloke came out of the tent and said, "Yeah, that's me." And I said, "Well, okay, I've been in a lot of bike clubs in my life and most of them I don't like. So what's your main aim for this one then?" And he looked a bit taken aback. I don't think he'd ever been asked that question up till then. And he looked at me and did a double take and said, "Party."
The rule was, when you joined, you went out and signed up 2 new members. So everybody got recruited, went and found another 2. And that's how we started. Everyone went out and found other people riding the bikes, told them of the club, and got them in. Sonny Bob did the Exeter Bike Show and recruited for us down there, where John and Mandy Talbot joined the club.
So we did our normal 6 to 8 months riding around whenever the sun was out. Sorry, Sonny Bob. And then we started to get a little bit bored, so we thought, well, there's got to be more. let's see if we can find people to ride with. We came across the site, as I mentioned, saw the advertised AGM, then spent a month trying to find out what the hell Storming the Castle was, because we'd never heard of it. Eventually got told the day before we were due to leave.
The AGM, or the very first AGM of the club, was set for Storming the Castle, which is in September. It was actually the day I landed from a 3-week holiday in Florida. The plane landed at 5 a.m. I dropped my children off with my in-laws just south of Bristol. Got home, got on the bike, rode to Newcastle. Absolutely exhausted, and I arrived late. So I'd missed the initial meeting point. I thought, how do I advertise the club now? How do I find these people that have turned up for an AGM? So I put my bike in the show and I put a notice on it saying where the meeting was going to be. Big Ann at the time was working for a company called the Trike Shop. They had a van because they were selling trikes at the show. So we pitched the meeting to be behind the Trike Shop van.
We came to the hour of the advertised AGM, walked round the back of these tents where it had been advertised that it was going to be held, and there was Chief. Well, that was nearly it for me. I took one look and said, oh my God.
We decided we needed a few officers to get this club off the ground. We wanted some money, so we had a treasurer, and John Talbot got that job. To open a bank account in this country, you've got to have a club secretary, so Mandy Talbot got that job. We decided that Sonny did a great job in Exeter, and even though he wasn't there to defend himself, he became the very first regional rep for the South West region.
Anyway, we attended the meeting. You're loving this, aren't you? And that's where we met Big Ann. And we were greeted by a pair of white Welsh legs falling out the back of a transit van, accompanied by about 15 empty Lambrusco bottles.
Yeah.
And an even more drunk wife rolling around in the back who never appeared because she couldn't make it out of the door. There were several other people there. Bruce didn't attend because he'd broken his leg previously and was in a cast and metal girders and all sorts. And it started from there. I was made treasurer, and I don't know what else to say really.
When I first saw Chief, I was absolutely horrified. I thought, oh my God, where the hell has my husband brought me? You know, Storming the Castle, it's an interesting place, and I've never been to a bike rally in my life before. I mean, this was my first ever. And Storming the Castle is, at the time, was run by the Hells Angels anyway, so it was pretty rough event. Open the tent flap and there standing Chief, and I mean, you know, he's a big bloke, as everybody knows, and his hair at that point was down to here, and so was his beard, and I just thought, my husband's trying to kill me.
John and Mandy will tell you the story better, but at the time they were not typical bikers. This was their first big bike rally. They'd just got into the scene, and I turned up. Long hair, beard, lots of leather.
I can remember meeting Chief for the first time when I rolled up to the 2001 Southwest Custom and Classic show, and very similar to what most people think when they first meet him. You think, bloody hell, what the hell's going on here like that? And he's such a quietly spoken bloke, you don't necessarily know where he's coming from to start with. But it doesn't take many vodkas to actually find out he's coming from exactly the same place as the rest of us. Because by fate or by choice, they've all chosen a similar type of bike. So deep down, they are very similar types of people.
Down the zigzag hill.
Yeah.
Out the Corf, turn left,
Yeah.
and then go up over the ranges.
What about
Through Church now.
What about dropping down into Tyneham? Let me have a look at Tyneham.
Yes, if they want to go into Tyneham, we can go into Tyneham.
Drop down
Tyneham
into
Village.
Tyneham for a leg stretch.
Yeah.
And have a look at the church and the school there.
Yeah, and then come back out,
And then back out down
up
into
over the
Lower.
top. Down in
We
Lower
decided that
Cove.
we would have a rally at every region, once a month on average, and everybody would try and get there. Biggest shock of all came in March of one year when we were invited to the Ace Cafe for Kawasaki Day. Kawasaki Day said, bring some bikes along and have a corner of our car park, they said. And we did. 108 bikes turned up. 108 Vulcans. Massive. Scared the crap out of us as organisers, because now we had to put on events that could cater for this sort of number of people, and that was big. And also people were spending an absolute fortune travelling around the whole country. So we decided we had to change, we had to move on, we had to change things around. So we put on less but more organised rallies, tried to join regions together to work together. And we got in touch with some of the European clubs and found out how they were organising and how they were coping with the growth. From these beginnings, we made friends with all the European people we've met and obviously wanted to see them again. So now we have people popping across the channel on a regular basis.
Today we basically met at Jack Steele's Cafe, had a few cups of tea. We've turned up to this pub. We're going to Coombe Abbey soon, I think, to see the American car show. And then we're going to end up at a country pub that Big John's organised for a buffet.
I'd just like to say, since I've been in the VRA, I've met some great people, having some great rides. Today's just one of those days. Little ride organised for St George's Day, and lo and behold, we've got a dozen of us turned up from different parts of the country. This is an area from the Midlands that we've got up and running, but we do get riders from other areas as well coming to join us, as in today. Anybody's welcome.
When I first joined, I wasn't a long distance biker at all. I was a real Sunday only and didn't do any camping or any away days. It wasn't interesting to me. But over the years with the VRA, I've gone there and had so much fun that now I wish I'd done it a lot of years earlier.
Ordinary everyday life puts so many restrictions on you that you've got to behave a certain way, you've got to go to work, you've got to do certain things. But when you go to a VRA do, you can be whoever you like. You can be stupid, you can be silly, you can be drunk, you can be a party animal, or you can keep yourself to yourself and stay by your tent and have a good time on your own. But you don't have to do anything, you don't have to conform, and that's a wonderful thing for me.
We've got people from such walks of life as magistrates, chief of police, dustbin lorry drivers, you name it, they're in the club. But you couldn't pick them out if you tried. And some of the scariest lots are the ones that got the best jobs. It just doesn't add up. We've now learnt that doesn't mean anything, no matter what anybody looks like. I'll give you a good example is Kiz. He looks like he'd bite the head off your dog, let alone your bat. But he's a lovely bloke. And so many of them are. Well, they all are, really. They all are. And as somebody has mentioned in one of the newsletters, that it's amazing how everybody from every different walk of life, that when they come together in that leather-clad community, there's no difference. There's no demarcation lines or anything like that. It's just enjoy it.
The very, very first year of the club was hit and miss, to say the least. I was printing out newsletters on my home printer, learning how to edit and create a newsletter, folding them up, sticking them in the post to everybody I could, forgetting a lot of people because I didn't get all the details correct. So our retention rate was not good. We had no organised events at all. It was just meeting at other people's bike shows. A couple of ride outs were planned, didn't really happen, nobody turned up for them. So in the first year we recruited quite a few people, but we lost a lot of people too. By the second year we got more organised. John and Mandy have basically run a lot of the administration of the entire club from day one. John being the treasurer, who doesn't actually understand that zeros after numbers make them bigger. Or zeros after miles don't make it any further away either. Which is why we ended up riding the length and breadth of the country many, many times over.
Well, we had the Millennium Rally, which was the first rally that we held on our field, one of many. And that was when Chief nearly gave it up.
Yes, that's right.
Because there were 8 of us, I believe, at the Millennium Rally on our field.
But that wasn't the full extent of the membership. There were quite a few
there
members
were a lot of
by then.
members.
But apathy seemed to be ruling at the time, and they just didn't turn up. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth when things like that happen, but they do, for whatever reason.
Following year, May of 2000, we had our very first rally. The VRA major event, the rally. It was in John and Mandy's orchard. And John had to get his bike out of the garage and park it in the field just to make sure there was a bike there. I arrived shortly after Chisel, in fact, followed by Big Hand. Bruce at the time had a broken leg, so he came by car. And that was it. That was the very first rally. It was a bit disappointing. But getting commitment out of people was never easy. It disheartened me from one level, and I nearly gave up on the club. But from another level, the people that did turn up have been solid friends. And always will be. They became very close that weekend. There's a comment that Mandy made was, fuck them all. Don't care whether they turn up or not, we had a great time. And that has been my thoughts on the club ever since, to be honest. I arrange something and I go to it because I want to do it. If other people turn up, great, we'll have a good time together. If people don't turn up, they've missed out. It's their problem, not mine. So from that point on, I managed to keep going with low attendances. It's not a problem anymore. We've moved on a few years since then, and now we have a good turnout pretty much everywhere we go. And there's always a warmth and respect between the members who haven't seen each other for a month, 2 months, whatever. And the meetings and greetings take almost as long as the meetings. And the goodbyes take longer and longer and longer.
Hello, Matt. Matt, you got a mouse on the front of that camera?
Way back up in the woods among
Matt.
the Everest. The log cabin made of earth and wood.
Big 5-0. Birthday morning. Sent to the garage on some spurious errand to get orange juice. Open the garage doors, and there across was happy birthday, a little big, one of these birthday banners.
Go, Johnny, go, go. Go, Johnny, go, go. Johnny be good. He used to carry his guitar and a gun in his sack. Go sit beneath the tree by the river.
Oh, it's John. We're talking about John's accident on Friday. He had a back-ended by a car, ran right into the back of him at a roundabout, and don't know yet. Insurance hadn't seen it, but reckon the MTO1 is a write-off.
Today, we're going to have a look at another pub, another club meeting place. I think after we've got down to the Holford, and then it's possibly a ride out.
Apart from Harley Davidson, there was very little in the cruiser markets going. It was just beginning to pick up. The speed cameras had come in. A lot of people like myself had 9 points on their licence and really kind of needed to slow down. Also, the sports bikes had reached a stage of development where they were so good thought they were no fun on the road anymore. You need to be on a racetrack to get the best out of them. Now, all these combined, and a cruiser market started to pick up in the UK and in Europe. And there was enough people around to form the basis of a club for things to start happening. I think before that it had been just too patchy. But it's great fun now, and we ride all over the place. We have a great time.
Well, between the first newsletter from the Bath and West show and actually getting down to the Exeter show, not a lot happened. I only saw Chief a couple of times. I organised a show down there, and we had 3 other members turn up, one of which was Captain Sensible. And he's got a 1500 Classic, but at the time he was having problems with a dodgy hip, so he was riding extremely slowly. Every time we went out for a ride out, Bob would arrive about half an hour later after everybody else had got there. That was the first time that Glenn and Maddie had come out with us. Big Hand was there. TP, who didn't have a name at that time, he'd come up from Cornwall to join us. After we started to actually meet up occasionally, several more members came in from the shows we'd done and from the advertising we started to do. We were putting flyers out to the local bike shops, etc., and putting cards on every Vulcan we saw in the streets. The numbers came up quite big, and around Tor Bay area we had a dozen quite early on. So then we started riding out regularly on the Sundays. At that stage I started organising that, and I ended up as the South West Region Rally Secretary. I was doing all of the things involved in that. There weren't many on email back then, so I was sending about 20 or 30 letters out every fortnight to keep people up to date with what we were doing. I did that for a couple of years, and then it just got a bit too much because my work got too heavy on me, so I had to let that go off to someone else.
We started with 4 or 5 people in a field. We're now talking 200, 250 in a field, and we got to that basically growth, year-on-year growth. For 2 or 3 years we were looking at 20, 25 people at most at any one rally, not just a daily gathering but a weekender.
No, the club now is pretty big. I mean, I know more than most people, but a lot of faces now I just don't put names to anymore. But it's still doing well, and the problem is, as soon as a club gets bigger, you do get a little bit of politics creep in. But what you have to do, and what we've achieved so far, is to not let that ruin the rest of it. Politics come, politics go, and you just get on with it and have fun the next time you all meet up together. There's no point in holding grudges. There's no point in someone fighting someone else for a particular position, because everybody who thinks that it's going to be good having a position in the club, they haven't the faintest idea of the effort and work involved. It's that simple.
Workload, as I said, I'm aiming at 2 hours a week. If you're going to go to the higher offices, if you want to be president, then probably looking at 20 hours a week work.
So no pay.
No pay. No glory. The only people that, yeah, you do get thanked. People say thank you all the time for your work when you're at events.
And we do appreciate it. And where is it? Can you give it to these 2 presidents here? I would ask the gay president to join in, but it would just taint it. Our appreciation for all your work, mate.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
When you're out with the crowd, you do feel good. One of my crowning moments was a recent AGM at 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd had a good party, we'd drunk a lot, and everybody had just gone to bed. And I walked away from the tent where I'd been sat down having a few vodkas before going off to bed, and just walked around the campsite. Listen to the snoring. VRA are good at that. Listened to the snoring, walked around a quiet campsite, and the feeling of pride was immense. I loved it. They were there, they were friends. Most of them would never ever have met if it wasn't for the club. And I started it, and that feeling was beautiful. Can't describe it. It just filled me up, made me feel great.
Back in 1999, just about on this spot, the club started recruiting. We had a tent set up with tarot reading and tyre pressure gauges being sold because we had to pay for it somehow. And on the side of it was a bike and a load of forms to start recruiting for the members of the VRA. First person that turned up was Gary Orris. Rode all the way from Southend just to be here. So this show is a bit special to us. We've been here every year since. Got to stand in the main hall now and we don't have to pay for it anymore.
The Vulcan Riders Association, it's an owners club. You have to own a Vulcan to be in it. We allow anybody who's a family member of an owner to be a part of us. It causes problems. People sell their bikes, they buy a different model, and they become friends with the club. What do? The reason we're an owners club, the reason I chose that route, the reason I'll stick to that route, is because it keeps us out of the MC and MCC politics. They have their rules, they have their ways of running, they have things that they are obligated to do. We aren't involved. We're an owners club, we're exempt. That doesn't stop people that we've met going out and buying themselves, say, a Yamaha. Unfortunate, but it happens. Some of the saddest ones go out and buy Harleys, but hey. They still come along and party. They just can't vote, they can't be a member of the club, but they're friends, they come with us. As we grow, we will probably end up with a lot of friends, but we will stay an owners club.
Well, we've mentioned friendships being formed within the VRA as is a good example, but it's gone a lot further than friendships for some people. There's been a few weddings, proper weddings, and there's been quite a few hand fastings that Chief does. There's, to name a few, Chief and Lisa got married, Pete and Donna married, Soggy and Ray. Was that a marriage?
That was a marriage.
That was a marriage. Andy and Joe got married. Andy and Trace got married. All of these things we got invited to, which is absolute honour. Biggest honour for me and Mandy was to perform Chief's hand fasting. Never done that before. Don't want to do it again. I was scared witless.
Scariest moment of my life.
I thought I was going to burst into flames.
Yeah. Waving a sword round in a circle is just something I've never done before, and I'm not awfully sure I want to do it again. But it was an absolute honour.
Crazy longing the time will never take. You love the thunder, you love the rain. You know your heart.
When I was club area secretary, I was sending out letters, as I say, before everybody got into email, and I was always trying to get people to meet up on the Sundays, but because I just don't enjoy riding in the rain, it's as simple as that. So at the end of each letter I would put, see you on Sunday, as long as it's sunny. After a short period of time that got transferred to, see you on Sunday, Sunny Bob. It stuck, it completely stuck, and now a lot of people don't even know my name is Bob, they just know me as Sunny.
Few days. We're farming around the country, letting us see some nice bits. Ulysses down in Ashford said that
you want nice bits?
Country. Now put those bits away.
You've seen your bits of it.
So yeah, welcome to Karen. She's here as a guest and a visitor.
The ultimate delegation came due to me getting cancer. Because of the treatment I was on, despite the fact I still went on long rides and still turned up pretty much everywhere. There was one AGM that I actually fell asleep on the table at the top of the room halfway through the AGM because of the cancer treatment. This influenced my decision to step down and delegate the job of president. I didn't step away from the club, I still work for the club, I run the website for the club, and I am there to assist any job anywhere in the club, and I do regularly get asked to help out with bits and pieces. But the actual president's job was not appropriate to me at the time due to my health. My lack of concentration alone meant that I could not steer this club properly. That's behind me now. I'm recovered, my hair's grown back, and John Talbot, who's been the president for the last few years, doing a great job of it, is preparing to move away out of the country down to Greece, and he's busy working on that project and ready to step down. He wants to step down and I'm ready to step back up. So I'm taking the job back if I can. Standing for election this year.
Yeah, and I do apologise for that. Last year saw the Southern Region host the AGM. We also saw us for the first time put a stand on at the Reading show. Once again it was a roaring success, and many thanks to the other regions.
The VRA has grown. It will continue to grow, I hope. There will be more and more riders out there. More wonderful friendships formed. The film director and the dustman, best of buddies. They'd never have met in real life. Two guys in Birmingham who lived 2 streets away, who both joined the club separately, became best of friends and will always be best of friends.
Smaller.
I don't know how you define a brotherhood of bikers. Does it mean just waving at each other? Does it mean helping each other out? Looking out for each other? Just a nod as you walk down the street to somebody who's dressed in normal clothes, but you know he's a biker. How do you know? I don't know. It's just a feeling you get. 9 times out of 10 it's correct. So yes, there probably is a brotherhood of bikers there, but I must admit I've never come across it hard and fast.
I believe there's a brotherhood of bikers as such, and I think it's more of a attitude to life rather than just biking. I think bikers tend to live their life and actually see things a certain way, which tends to show up through their actions.
And all this rumour went round, and then I talked to the president. Right?
Yeah, they're nuts. They're really big.
From the VRA, I have got wardrobe, lasting friendships, experiences I could never have had before, memories that I will never forget, and friends that I will never ever forget.
Do you know what? I love being in this club because I get to be whoever I want to be. I can be silly, I can be flirty, I can be serious, I can be whatever I want to be,
Charting.
and I haven't got to conform to the restrictions of everyday life that are put upon you. Yeah, it's great. I can just be who I want to be.
We won 2nd place last year at the show. Was it third? We decided purely by a joke what we're going to do this year, and it ended up being a merry-go-round. So this year I'm spending my free time building a merry-go-round for the club.
My own personal gain from the club is certainly not financial. It costs a fortune to be in a club. Is I lead quite a conforming life, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. But when I hit a rally, my God, do I let it go? You can be whoever you want to be, and you've got no fear of upsetting who's behind you, to the side of you, in front of you. You can say what you want. It's just, we mentioned before, brotherhoods. There is a brotherhood within the VRA, which is cement, and you can just get in that hall and do what you want, and it is brilliant. And that's my main gain from this club, is the friends and the fact that I can be myself.
I believe in it. It's something I want to be going and running as a major event every year, long after I'm not here. By that I mean when I bugger off and ride around the world. I'll come back and it'll still be going. I want the club to thrive. I want the club to exist as its own entity. So I want a lot of people to come forward, work as officers, find out how it's done, compete for elections. Just because there's 10 people standing for election and none of them don't get in, doesn't mean they're not valued. Those that lose the elections are valued because they give people choice. I want people to stand against me as president. I want people to fight the elections, and I want them to show that they really, really want to keep this club going. Keep the show on the road, make this club happen, and keep it going. The more people involved, the less chance there is that we'll fold. As you're aware, this isn't live, this is a recording. I have no idea what year it is when you're watching this. You could be 10 years, it could be 20 years after I recorded it. All I'm saying to you, if your bike's outside, go out, get on it, meet some friends, get involved, have a good time. That's what the Vulcan Riders Association is about. That's what we do best. Go for it.